Hey everybody, so I recently posted a video on the Specialized Crux. There was one thing that a lot of you agreed on, and that was that the headset issue that I was having is definitely a problem. It's something that I should not take lightly, and it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. So in this video, we're going to focus in on the issue, which is actually a known headset issue on a lot of the modern Specialized Cruxes, and hopefully we'll be able to address the issue and come up with a solution. All right, so to briefly recap, the last video was somewhat of a review, and I pointed out a few things that were bugging me about the bike. And one of them is that no matter how well I set up the preload on the headset, there's always just a little bit of creaking in the headset. So basically, no matter how well I try to set up the headset, you hear that clicking? That's play in the headset, but it actually requires a fair bit of force to get it to kind of click like that. You really have to kind of grab a handful of front brake and really press on the headset, and it's more of a creak than play. But there is definitely a little bit of movement, and it seems like it's mostly coming from the top bearing of the headset. Now, anytime you have play in your headset and you sort of ride on it for some extended amount of time, you do have to be worried about the ring of death, which somebody pointed out in the previous video. And if you do have the ring of death, what that means is you've got this sort of worn away ring on the actual fork steerer, which could potentially be very dangerous if you continue to ride it in that fashion. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and drop the fork and check to see if we have that ring of death. Here's the steer tube. The upper headset bearing would sit somewhere about here. And this is where you would typically see that wear if you were getting the ring of death. And fortunately, I don't see any, noticeable wear anywhere on the steer tube here. Yeah, there's nothing there. You can get the light reflecting off. Fortunately, we don't have any issues with wear around the steer tube. So that is a plus for sure. Now, one hypothesis is that when you've got this thing fully installed, there is enough flex in this very minimal, lightweight sort of top cap here that that can actually be causing the creaking on its own. Just the fact that there's some flex in this top cap. Another theory is that there's not enough space between the upper face of the compression ring and the bottom face of the dust cap, so that the bottom ridge of the dust cap actually makes contact with the frame and you're not able to actually get enough preload on the bearings. Now, if that were the case, then the solution provided by Specialized would actually have solved the issue. Namely, if I were to go ahead and place a couple of micro shims, like these two here, above the conical compression washer and below the dust cap, that should give me a little more real estate under the bottom lip of the dust cap to provide the proper amount of preload on the headset bearings. In my case, however, that still didn't fully solve the issue. And so what I'm left to believe now is that it's truly just a fault of the provided headset. If you look at this sort of compression ring, I'm pretty sure this is just plastic. This thing is very flimsy. The top cap, with my bare hands, I can actually almost flex this a little bit. So my guess is that this is the problem right here. Now, because of this hypothesis, I've gone ahead and I've ordered a Creaking 40, and so hopefully that's going to solve the issue. That's on order, should be here tomorrow. Until then, we just kind of have to wait. All right, so it's been a couple days. I got a Creaking 40, pretty standard headset, decent quality. This is really the only part that we needed from this headset. So it's the upper bearing as well as the compression washer and top cap combination. So while I was waiting for the headset to ship, had a chance to clean out the upper and lower cups. Typically only need grease on metal-to-metal contacts, but anytime you've got creaking issues, it's never a bad idea. This grease is carbon safe, so there's nothing you really have to worry about. Fork back up, drop right on top. Of course, we got to line up our logos. Spacers back on. Yeah, I know it's a lot. I'm still kind of messing around with the stack height. If this amount of spacers bothers you, then yeah, it's probably the wrong channel for you. Get the preload set. Nice and smooth. Ooh, that's actually very smooth. Now, if you remember from the last video, basically if I would grab the front brake and just kind of rock the bike back and forth, you'd hear that pop right in the, it felt like it was coming from the upper part of the headset. And you could definitely feel that there was some play. With the Creaking 40 installed, again, this is just the upper bearing, the upper compression washer, and the dust cap. there is absolutely no play whatsoever. So at this point, I'm 100% convinced that it was just the super lightweight, kind of flimsy upper headset components causing that creaking issue. And so just dropping in a new upper portion of the headset completely solved our problem here. All right, so there you have it, a pretty definitive fix for the Specialized Crux sort of headset creaking issue. Now, I'm really happy that all of you commented in the last video basically saying that this is a known issue and that these are the things that you've tried. But for me, I'm never quite satisfied until I try it myself and see. And so hopefully in this video, we've pretty definitively isolated the problem and identified that it was sort of an inadequate sort of stock upper headset dust cap and compression washer. Now, I do think there's something to be said here about trying to diagnose your bike issues first before you just run back to the company and claim warranty. I'd say about 50 or maybe 60% of all the comments that were addressing the headset issue said, hey, that's a warranty issue, you better take that back, immediately. And for me, I could have easily done that, just offloaded the problem, gave it back to Specialized and said, here, you deal with it. But honestly, I was more curious about the issue myself. And for me, the warranty process is somewhat of a black box. You just kind of send it back, they do their thing, and they give it back to you, and hopefully the issue's been solved. But through that process, you never really learned what the problem was, honestly, because you never really saw it yourself. So for me, this was an easy enough thing to try before involving the warranty department at Specialized, and it totally fixed the problem, probably saved me a couple of weeks off the bike, and I'm actually a lot happier because I know exactly what the problem was, and I was able to solve it on my own. But anyways, I realize that's a little bit preachy on my part. Apologies. Nonetheless, we have solved the Crux headset creaking issue. So if you have a Crux and you're experiencing some weird headset issues where it seems like no matter how well you set up the preload, you're still getting a little bit of creaking or popping from the front end, definitely give this a go. Just replace the upper components of the headset. You should be fine. All right, well, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for subscribing to the channel. And thanks again for your support in the previous videos, all of you who provided constructive criticism and suggestions as to what to try. Really appreciate that. And we'll see you in the next one.